So today we're going to discuss a little bit about the major problems of being human. So in this article, Verbal Monster is like very straightforward and then pinpointing all the four key points that for us to be aware of it. And then even though it's very straightforward, I try to share with you some stories that happen that is related to the things that we have to be aware of. So before we start, let us just have a very short meditation to kind of like gather our thoughts and focus on the present. So we can go ahead and sit upright, make sure that both feet is flat on the floor. We can put aside our glasses if we have one. Slightly tuck in our chin, close our eyes. Let us rest our hands on our legs, making meditation gesture. And just be aware of our breathing and gathering all the thoughts on our breathing. Now let us gently take in 3 deep breaths, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in again, breathing out. Now let us gently rub our palms together. Cover our palms on our eyes, top of our head, over our ears, the back of our neck. Let's gently rub our palms together. Gentle massage on our shoulders, arms all the way to our fingers and wrists. So, okay. Before we look into the major problems of being human, let us have a quick recap of what we have discussed last week. I know like during the Thanksgiving weekends as well as coming the winter holidays where there are many family gatherings, we have guests coming in and out. And then these are the 4 points that Verbal Master has reminded us that when we have guests for our friends, make sure that we make them feel at home. And then as these guests who have problems are solving their difficulties, we will talk about the days when Verbal Master was in Taiwan, where things are very difficult, and he didn't even have a place to stay until there was a temple that was willing to provide him with food and lodging and accommodation. And as disciples for us to follow, we try to remind ourselves. He's always try to solve people's difficulties whenever we can. So the third point is offering joy and hope to guests who are just dropping by. And we even talk about after the class, we even discuss about the difference in the culture. Here, it is seldom that without notice you just pop in, surprise. But then, like in Asian countries, it's like very common. You just drop in and say, "Oh, surprise," or "Hi." Yeah, but things has changed a little bit. Yeah, some of you shared that it could be families that just like give you a surprise visit without for announcement or notice. Okay, so but then we try to offer joy and hope to whoever just give us surprises, is dropping by, ringing the doorbell, hello, and welcome. Okay, and the last point that Verbal Monster mentioned is in treating guests in high position, we should conduct ourselves appropriately without being arrogant and self-effacing. Thank you. So these are the 4 points that we have discussed in the last Saturday. And for today, we're going to look into the major problems of being humans. So the word problems here is more towards the challenges, I would say, instead of like the real problems of being humans. But these are the things that we can be more mindful of because sometimes because of certain reasons, like we are so taken for granted for many things. So we're going to look into what Verbal Master Xing Yun has to say when it comes to the major problems of being human. Okay, so being humans comes with a range of challenges and complexities, ranging from the obvious ones to the hidden ones. Like for example, in terms of morality, in terms of being humans, sometimes like we are susceptible to various physical and mental challenges, and of course emotional changes. Okay, sometimes it might be hard and a little bit overwhelming when we experience emotional changes because of certain situation. The same goes to relationships between ourselves and our families, ourselves with the families, with the communities. There are many things going on. Okay, and of course, like when it comes to being humans, that's always the identity or characteristics that we have. Okay, sometimes we might come across a situation where we might be challenged by certain situation, and then we might have the response of, "I'm like that." Okay, what should I do? I'm just like that. Okay, so thinking that the habit that we have is part of who we are. Okay, that is also one of the major problem of being human. Sometimes we thought that our habits that we have is who we are, but most of the time it's not, because habits are the things that we keep on repeating it and become who we are. But it is cultivated culture, not cultivated. Okay, but then things can be changed. So let us have a general idea about the top 10 challenges when facing humanities. Like today, there's a lot of misinformation. So how are we going to know what is right and what is not? Even on the news, even on the most the most information that you can find nowadays is like scrolling through the cell phone websites, many online sources. So how do we know that this is correct information? Okay, and of course energy. So as a humans, like we rely on energy, okay, electricity to give us heat during winter. We need to plug in every day. Imagine there was one time that the SDG and E is like changing the cable, and it happened to be on Sunday, and we have Sunday service. And then we started to lose the power in the morning, like 7 a.m. And then we kept on waiting and waiting and waiting. And I just realized that how important it is for us to have energy, to have electricity, because we rely so much on electricity for the microphone, the sound system, the lightings. And then at first we have the battery powered for the emergency lights. But after like 3 or 4 hours, it ran out. And then it continued to fix and change the cables until like almost 6 in the evening. It's almost like 12 hours. So I realized that, but the moment when there's no energy without electricity, I found out that it was so quiet. Do you know why? Do you know why? It's so quiet. Like you won't hear the sound of the machines, the server, the computer, the security system, even the buzzing from the clock. Sometimes you can hear it. When there's no electricity, all of a sudden it's like, there's no sound. Okay? It's like very calm, very quiet. But of course, we still rely on energy. So there's always alternative right today that the solar power, wind power, but we rely so much on energy. Okay? And of course, like the environment that we lived in, like more than 10 years ago, we talk about global warming. How about today? We talk about climate change. It is because we are experiencing the effect of what was done before. So it's no longer just the warming globally, but it has affected the weather, the climate is changing. And I'm not sure what term the scientists will come out after like maybe 5 years ahead of us, but things are changing. And of course, when it comes to dependent origination, we can always do our part to try to slow down the changes, okay, in the environment, and also to prevent further damage to the environment. We rely a lot on the nature. Environment is very important. Okay, and food and water, which is they are interconnected with the energy, environment, and everything. Food and water is the survival. Okay, when we lack of food and water, then the problems of poverty, hunger, that will be the next issue that we might face. And of course, there's tension, conflicts, humans. Okay, it could be greed, hatred, or ignorance. Sometimes, like we just act upon what we are being exposed to, the situation that we're in. So the tension, the arguments, the conflicts is constantly happening, even today. If you look at other countries, I don't want to go into the details, but within countries, within communities, between neighbors, families, there's a constant, like sometimes there's disagreement, quote unquote tension, and so on and so forth. And of course, disease, like a few years ago, COVID hit, and things has changed. And even today, things change so much because of that. And not only that, there's a constant like flu, viruses, sickness, diseases that is happening every time, every moment. And we are so susceptible to so much of the bacteria, viruses that our physical body change accordingly. Okay? And of course, education, human rights, and population, and everything are those are the challenges that we might face every day, every month, every year, okay, throughout our whole life. Okay, so this is just a general overview of when it comes to humans, like these are things that we might face, okay, every day. Okay, so what Verbal Monster has shared with us, the first point is we can see fine details but can we see our eyelashes? When it fall out of your face or it went into your eye, then you can feel ouch. Okay. But then what is the metaphor behind that? What does it mean? So we can see the dust and sand, okay, the so-called dust and sand. We can see all the details in our surroundings, as well as other how do you minute, thank you, minute things, such as a hair feather, okay, when it drops, okay. But they cannot see, or we cannot see our own eyelashes, okay. So many years ago, before I was renounced, I don't remember when was it. There was one day I suddenly feel that why am I inside here? Why am I inside here, not outside? You know, imagine like every day when we wake up, opening our eyes, we look through using our eyes, but where are we? Are we really inside this physical body? This was the questions I asked, you know, many years ago. So that's the reason why the first sutra that I learned is Shurangama Sutra, because it talks about where is our consciousness, where are we? Yeah, I won't be able to go into the details of that sutra, but it's a very interesting sutra where the Buddha shared with us, like, is it inside or is it outside? Is it at the eyeball? Where is it? Is it like, you know, and there are many Q&A between the Buddha and Ananda in that sutras. But that was my question like a long time ago. And then every time when I open my eyes, I was like, wow, I'm here. Really? Okay, something for us to contemplate. Okay. And this indicates that we can easily notice the small faults of others. It happens all the time. And yet fail to see our own shortcomings. Okay. So this is what Verbal Master has mentioned about. We might see and notice all the fine details around us. Okay. But then we might not be able to see ours, the things that we need to improve, the things that we reflect upon it. Okay. So let us do some testing here. Okay, what do you see? Oh, really? Wow, that is so clear. What do you see? Okay, the first impression is that, oh yeah, we see the black dot. Okay, and then the follow thoughts that we have. Oh yeah, it's a big white screen with a dot in the middle. Okay, and what do you see? Wow. Okay. Good. Sometimes you only see like lots of black dots. What are they? And then the next thing that we know, oh, those are all straws. Okay. Yeah. And then what do you see? Oh, wow. You can see that.
Tiny smiling face.
Oh, okay. A small smiling face. So sometimes, like, you know, when we see all the details, not only we see the faults of others, but we try to see the goodness in others too. So that is also a reminder for ourselves that when we see all the details, all the dust and sand, everything, we also try to see not only our own shortcomings internally, but we also learn from each other. We also learn from the goodness and the potentials and the abilities that others is doing better than us. We can learn from each other. So everyone is on track. You can see the smiley. Okay. Okay. The next point that Verbal Master would like to share with us is we can lift 1,000 pounds way heavier than ourselves, but not ourselves. Is it true? Is it true? Okay, so this is again a metaphor. Okay, and then you might be thinking, yeah, I can hold on to the rod and I can lift myself like that, right? What do you call that? Huh? Pull-ups. Okay, just make sure you have enough room on top. Okay, so but then what Verbal Master is trying to say is, we have the strength to counter many external circumstances, situations that we are in that are very challenging. Okay, but sometimes like we might not have any clue in solving our own problems. Okay, so we might not have clue how to handle themselves. Okay, internally, talking about ourselves. Okay, we might be able to very good in helping others solving their problems, but when it comes to ourselves, sometimes the problems that we have, we might not fully. First thing is we might not fully comprehend, we might not fully understand, we might not know. Okay, what are the things that we need to manage? Like for example, um, angriness, the hatred, the emotions of like getting angry, fast-tempered, anxious, feeling stress. Those are the things that we might not be aware of it the first thing, and then we might not be able to manage it ourselves. Okay, and up front, we might be very good in helping others, but internally, are we good in helping ourselves? Okay, we can talk about self-compassion later on. But basically here, we can live 1,000 pounds, but not ourselves, is being unable to be our own master in life is sad indeed. Okay, so this is something for us to think about it. So, so to depict a situation where individuals may possess great strength and capabilities in certain aspects of their life, and yet find it challenging to navigate or overcome personal struggles. Okay, like for example, like when it comes to managing a company, okay, within the managerial level, being able to manage well in a company, in an organization, in a department, or even within the family. Okay, but then how about ourselves? Okay, this is a question that we can ask ourselves. So there's nothing wrong with like the ability to embrace the emotions that we have, because emotion makes us human. Okay, and was there a situation, a moment at work or at home when we lost our control? We lost our quote unquote cool. Okay, so there was an incident that happened in Hewlett Packard company. The former CEO, that was like back in 2011 or 2012, okay, where she was like the CEO of Hewlett Packard HP company. Uh, she was very good in managing the whole company overall until one day that in a board meeting, she actually lost herself, like lost her control and then started shouting and over something that is not following her opinion. So then again, she resigned afterwards. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we have our own limits, and we try our best to manage the situation that we're in. But the things that we have to ask ourselves, how about our own needs? Do we understand our own needs? Are we capable in managing ourselves? Okay, so and that's the reason why like in our temples in different parts of the country, this is in New Zealand, where the first responders, police officers, okay, we all know that officers, sheriff or highway patrol or the police officers, they're always out there to serve and protect the society, the community. Okay, but when they are very good at that, how about themselves? Okay, who can take care of their needs internally? Okay, so one of the service that we provide has been ongoing, is like we try to share with them how to contemplate and be aware of internal thoughts, internal changes. So there's meditation classes, retreat, and so on and so forth. And not only that, we help them with the gardening around the police stations. This is actually happened in New Zealand in our temples there. So there was there are like frequent communication between the local police department with the temples. So they like the temples so much, especially the landscaping, the environment. They asked the venerables there, saying that can we have part of the temple in the police department? Okay. Wow. So this is what they requested. So that's why you see the venerables like picking up the pebbles, the stones from the temple, and then they actually move it to the police station. And then they do their own Zen garden around it. Okay. So that they also have place for them to meditate and to find a corner where they can find peace amid of the busyness in help to protect the society. Okay, so this is something that we share, and not only that, like here in LA, Shila Temple, from time to time, the officers will just zoom in with all the what do you call that, motorcycles? Is there a certain term for it? Motorcycle, just motorcycle. Okay. Uh, and then they have like cultural exchanges, they have meditation classes, and then they even have their annual meeting there. So this is, you can see like the photo in the middle where you have like all the uniform officers there um, standing in line is because they are getting ready for the conference or meeting. Yeah, so again, like when it comes to someone who is of managerial level where you need to be there to give others support. We also think of how we can give ourselves support. Okay, sometimes it's through different organizations that we support each other. Okay, it could be a university, it could be a police department, it could be any of the organization. It's just like doctors or chiropractor. And I always ask this question: if a chiropractor is there to help to fix and align a patient, bones and everything, uh, how about the chiropractor himself or herself? Who can help her or him? Does the chiropractor do it himself? It might be hard, but this is a question that because we all have our own needs. We all need help, not only like reflections and also our own practice and the internal reflection. So there's a constant happening in our life that we need support for each other, whether you're this level or this level or this level or this level. Everyone, people from all walks of life. Yes.
So how do we reconcile that? The fact we all have needs and we all with the idea of no self and like oh ego blah blah no self. But wait, I have needs. Like how do you reconcile that? Because it sounds almost opposite.
So what is your definition of no self?
Like you put others before you and like you cannot think about yourself as much and you try to take care of the situation.
Well, the definition of non-self is for us to understand that there's no permanent existence. Everything are interconnected. It is not a fixed entity. So sometimes the Buddha mentioned about non-self is because we tend to attach to the permanency of certain things, including ourselves. So when you mention about non-self is we have to realize that there are things that we can manage and there are things that we can't manage, we cannot manage. Okay, so we understand that, for example, ourselves. During winter, we put on like winter clothing. We make sure that we don't catch cold. But the physical body keeps on changing. So we might, catch a cold, like because of like the wind or the gust or the changes in our physical body. But sometimes if we were to hold on to that idea that, no, I'm young, I'm strong, I'm healthy, uh, that's, there's no way for me to fall sick, for example, or when we are being diagnosed, or when we have certain sickness, and we will ask the question of like, why me? Or even when we go to the doctor, we ask the question of what's wrong with me? Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just part of the changes. So for us to understand that putting others before ourselves, we also understand our needs. So that's the reason why no matter how strong a person is spiritually, a person still needs some balance. Okay, and for us to understand non-self is we understand that how things arises when it has the right causes and conditions, and things are constantly changing, and it depends on the conditions externally and internally. Okay, so that's why in the previous slide it says that we sometimes we do not have, okay, we are not our own master in some ways. Okay, like for example, can you stay forever 18 years old? In our mind, yeah, we want to be, but physically, yeah, I don't think so. Okay, but the mind power is very important, but we have to understand that there are things, there are limits that within ourselves. This is also the challenges of being humans. Okay, we can only live so far, so many years in life, and we won't be able to live more than like 120 years old or even like 200 years old. Okay, so that's limitations. Okay. Okay, so let me go ahead and share with you the third point. Okay, so the third point is we can gain short-term benefits but remain unconcerned about long-term problems. So sometimes we might only see what is right in front of us and being greedy for short-term gains and lacking far-sightedness apply to the majority of the people. Often we only care for benefits that are close at hand and pay no attention to the potential danger down the line. So sometimes that because of our short-sightedness and our greediness for immediate gains and fail to appreciate the problems in the future, we will also soon find ourselves in major difficulties. Okay, so like for example, sometimes the problem of corruptions, fraudulent, bribery. These are the things because of a person just want to have short-term gains and don't even think about the consequences of one's action. Okay, then one will go into it. Okay, so like just for example, farming. Right, I'm not sure if you have heard about farming, the how we do farming. Okay? So there was one, let me share with you one story that there was a farmer who owned a fertile piece of land and then he was eager to maximize his profit quickly. So instead of like following sustainable farming practices, he decided to exhaust the soil by planting the same crop year after year. So what will happen? It depletes. Yeah, it depletes the soil. And then not only that, it will yield like, the pests, okay, the insects, because it is the same plant again and again, year after year and after year. But because this harvest is very profitable, so this farmer didn't see long term. He keep on planting the same plants again and again and again. Eventually, this land, he won't be able to plant it anymore. It has been depleted. Okay, so the moral of this story is like it helps us understand that sometimes we might take shortcut, but we have to look at what is in front of us. Okay, even though we might want to go to our destination in a very fast time, in a shorter time, but we might go into the water, across the muddy stream, and up the mountains and down the hills to get to destination, even though it's a shorter route, but it might not be the ideal way. Okay, so the same goes to our life. Sometimes we might opt for something short and like easy. Okay, but what will follow next? It is because everything that we do, things will happen next. It's like causes and conditions and the effects that follows. So we might not be aware of the causes that we planted, but when the conditions are there, the fruit will ripe. We will harvest whatever effects that we have created. Okay, so this is just an example of planting the crops, or even like sometimes like the issue of bribery or fraudulent. Sometimes people like for example, like not too long ago, I saw a news where a banker every time, because she managed the transaction. So every time whenever there's transaction, she just take 0.01 cent. So 1 cent. Okay. So it might not be visible on in the book, but over time, she accumulated a lot based on that. So to her, she might think that nobody knows. Okay. Eventually, after some time, after a year, 2, 3, so the auditors found out what happened. Okay. So this is fraudulent. This is fraud. Okay. So it might not be significant to a customer. Okay. But this is karma. This is one's action. This is the consequences, because one might just see what is in front of you, the short term. But how about the long term? Okay. So this is something that we have to be aware of it. Sometimes the greediness, the desire that we have, it might just pull us around like the rope around our nose. Okay. Sometimes we might not be aware of what we're doing, what we're hating. So that's the reason why it is very important for us to be mindful at all times, because sometimes the habit will kick in, sometimes the 3 poisons will kick in, and then we are not being aware, and then we are not being mindful and clear about what we're going to do. Okay, but things just happen. So that's the reason why sometimes, like, if we were to go to prisons or jail, many people, it's just because of the action that one take within 5 seconds. One might end up behind the bars. Could be stealing, it could be fraudulent, it could be lying, it could be killing, it could be anything that is unlawful, harmful, hurting others. Okay, and this action, it could happen just like within seconds. For example, a person drink and drive. Okay, because of that decision that one's made within that second, it might affect others, it might hurt others. So again, it could be the greediness that pulls us around, that we don't see long-term effects. And it could be because of a habit. And there are also many possibilities in life. Okay? So this is something for us to reflect upon it and think about it. Okay. So, and then the last point that Verbal Master has shared with us is we can view the whole world, but not our faults. So we can travel around the globe, seeing all the beautiful sceneries, the pros and cons, the gains and loss of every issue, and be completely knowledgeable in every details. However, we might not recognize our own shortcomings. So the fourth point is very, very similar with the first point, where we cannot see our eyelashes. Okay. So sometimes like we're so eager to learn, eager to see, oh wow, I want to go to see Niagara Falls, or see the wall, go around the wall and have like learn all the different cultures and everything. But how about ourselves? Okay. So sometimes like we might have the question about meditation. Why do you want to meditate? Why do you want to be aware of everything? It is because of the awareness. It is because of we can be mindful. Only that moment when habit is about to kick in, we know and we pause and we think, what am I doing? Okay, before it is too late. Okay. If we're not being aware, if we're not being mindful, we just follow. We just do it again and again and again until one day we have the aha moment. What am I doing? Okay, so reflections that help us recognize what are the things that we can improve. Okay, it doesn't mean that everyone has shortcomings, but this is something that for us to be aware. It could be our ego, it could be our emotions, it could be our anger, it could be anything. Okay, and could be our greediness when we have a certain things that is pleasant to us without thinking, without being aware. We just, oh, I want to have more. If it is unpleasant feeling, we immediately reject. Okay, don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear about it. So this could be our shortcoming. This could be our reaction to it when we are not being mindful. And then even when it comes to the discussion and planning or everything, sometimes we might just close ourselves up when we're in this situation. Okay, these are the things that challenges us, but it is not impossible. Okay, for us to change. Everything is possible for us to change, to reflect, to be better. It is because everything matters starting from now. The causes that we created, the causes that we planted, okay, that matters. Okay, so we can view the whole world, but how about our shortcomings, our faults? So again, this is something for us to think about it and be aware. Okay, so the contemplative reflection question I stopped posting on our classrooms is because I know like many of you are busy with families, gatherings and everything. So I have a 2 weeks break for everyone. But this is like for us to really think about it. It is because when we read an article, sometimes we just hear, listen, and we move on. Okay. But with the contemplation and reflection in our daily activities, it helps us understand better and deeper. Okay. It is because our practices is never away from our daily activities. Our practices is in our life, in our daily life. So the question for us to ask ourselves is, do I find myself becoming defensive or dismissive when confronted with feedbacks or criticism? Right? Do we become very defensive? Okay, just like what I said, like earlier, I quoted saying, I'm just like that. What can you do about that? Okay, that's me. Okay, but really? Okay. So the next question that we ask ourselves, how do I react when others offer constructive criticism or point out my shortcomings? Okay, how do we react? Ego kicks in, or we thank others, saying that, oh, thank you for being able to open up and share with me what are the things I can do better.
Yeah, I think about it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Even though every one of us has a different perspective on different things, okay, we have our different ways of doing different things, okay. But then again, if our family members, our good friends, even like anyone here, if you think that I can be better, you can let me know. Okay. So sometimes like if we were to just open up and then we might find others like don't tell me about it. So again, we have to see the conditions that we're in. Okay, we have to contemplate whether is it the right timing to share and to tell. Okay, but how do I react? This is the question that we ask ourselves. Okay. The third contemplative reflection questions that I have for everyone is, when faced with setbacks or failures, do I view them as opportunities for learning and growth? Okay. So when we're faced with failures, okay, how do we react upon it? Do we look at it as an opportunity for us to grow? Okay. So sometimes for myself, I always share with others this phenomena as if like you're looking out to the ocean here in San Diego, for example. no matter what time of the year, you see surfers surfing in the ocean. Of course, unless there's a reef current or it's not advisable to go to the ocean. So you can ask a surfer, do you like a day without wave? Or you like a day where there's huge wave? Which will a surfer prefer?
On the wave. Depends on the wave.
Depending on the wave, yeah, and depending on how skillful the surfer is. Okay, and the same goes to our life because the wave is just a metaphor of our life. Sometimes it's ups and downs, sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's a whole huge wave. Okay, but it depends on how skillful the surfer is. But then along the way, along the time, the days, a surfer can get better and better, not with a calm ocean, but with a strong wave. Okay, up and down. The same goes to ourselves. If we only ask for a very calm, flat, or every day is the same day, that type of life, or we are welcoming like challenges or even like opportunities for us to grow, to learn. Okay. Sometimes it might not be fun. Okay. We might just drop into the ocean and try to find the surfboard. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. Eventually we find ourselves on the surfboard. We hang on to it for some time before we be able to stand on it. Okay. The same goes to life. Okay. So sometimes it might not be easy. We might be thrown into the ocean, but as long as we can hold on to the surfboard, okay, find advisors or find people to talk about it, find help, okay? So we hold on to the surfboard until we're ready to stand up again and embrace the challenges. These are all the opportunities for us to grow stronger. And it's just like the metaphor that the Buddha gave on the lotus. When there's no mud, there's no lotus. If it's just clean, pure water, a lotus plant will not grow. There's no nutrients. So the muddy water, it acts as a nutrients for the lotus plant. It also reminds us of our life. Okay, we are in this Saha wall. Saha wall it means the endurable wall that we lived in. Right? So everything, as long as we can find ways, solutions, everything, all the challenges are endurable. We can tolerate, we can embrace it, we can learn from it, we can grow from it. Okay.
How do we know it's endurable?
Yeah, this is a good question to ask ourselves. Really, yeah, because there's no weighing scale to weigh how far we can tolerate, how far we can forbear, and tolerate. Okay, so these are the very subjective questions that we can only answer the questions. The same goes to all the reflective questions that I have here. Is something to ask ourselves. We won't be saying that, oh, what do you think about this? Okay, it's more like to us, for ourselves to think about it, to contemplate about it. Okay, so to conclude, okay, so the major problem of being humans is failure to see our mind, which in turn keeps us from knowing ourselves. Thus, we should strive to look inside, not just external. Look at ourselves instead of others. Okay, so on the 4 points that Verbal Master shared with us, I can remember so well is the point that we can carry things that is way heavier than us, but not ourselves. Okay, this is a point. I'm not sure about you. Okay, this is a point that it always reminds myself that there are many things I can do, but there's also things that I cannot do. Okay, there are things that I still that's like limits. I try to go over it, but I'm still figuring out what is the limit. Okay, what are my shortcomings? Because I don't have a mirror that can really see beyond this appearance. I'm still working on that. Okay, every one of us, I think that there's still room for us to improve. There's still things for us to think about it, okay, internally. Okay. Sometimes we might have a best friend to be willing to let us know, but not every one of us has a best friend to willing to open up and share with us what are our shortcomings. Sometimes we have to rely on ourselves to discover that. Okay. So this is what I would like to share with everyone. So we still have some time. Do you have any comments, feedbacks, questions that you would like to share? Yes, Danny.
Yeah, if you go back to number 4.
You want to go back to number 4. Okay, let me share back my slides. Okay.
It was the one about traveling all over the world, but not looking at yourself. And that's where I have some difficulty. And I know what he's trying to say here with the analogy, but for my own part, I've traveled a lot of Asian countries and come into contact with. And I think it's more because they're Buddhist than anything, but my takeaway from that was that, look, this is a communal structure in those countries. People care about each other more. So in my own society, in my own culture, where we're intensely individualistic and out for ourselves. So what I'm trying to say here is that it's probably why I'm sitting here today, even. You know, some of these insights that we get by being exposed to other cultures and areas that really actually do give us some viewpoint of what our perhaps our shortcomings are. Because I question my own individualism, my own selfishness, etc. So that's my thoughts on
Yes, yes. Thank you, Danny. So what Verbal Master has mentioned here is a metaphor of like many people. We might have the tendency and very curious and want to explore around the world, explore different cultures, want to see the world. It's a way of saying like we want to see something that's external from us, but sometimes we don't see ourselves. It's just a way of saying, yeah, it's not like really traveling, it's not advising us not to travel. It is not, but it's just a way of saying that, sometimes we get too carried away by trying to explore what is external and has forgotten about internal.
I get it. It's kind of like going to the zoo.
Yes. It's like going to the zoo. Yes. And then you can see everything in the zoo, but what's next? Okay. So it's just a saying. It's not really referring to like traveling around the globe. Okay. Yeah.
First of all, the zoo. What's next? The smarter part. But anyway, my original thought was, how do we differentiate between, say, something like knowing our needs and wants and everything, versus like, I think the whole no self and putting others before self, sometimes I misinterpret that as self-sacrifice, and that can get confusing because
so usually when we juggle between meeting others' needs and our needs, and we're not talking about like the needs and wants, but we just try to remind ourselves of the Buddha's practice of the middle way, okay, middle path or middle way, okay, which is having a balance between our lives, our practice, or whatever that we need to do, okay, even helping others. Always remember the middle way, okay. The Buddha himself has gone through the extreme ascetic practice, even the luxury life in the palace, and then he noticed that all this are extremes. Okay, you're not having a balance between that. And then when he had the 6 years of ascetic practice, he almost lost his life because no food. Okay, just very minimal food. But we still need this physical body to practice. So what I'm trying to share is like, even though we have time, we try to allocate time to help others and to balance between our needs, our work life, family, the community, practice, everything. We try to balance that. Okay? So, but then towards the end of the day, we always ask ourselves, like, what is the main purpose of having that? Is it like my needs or my desire? Okay, so these are the things that we constantly ask ourselves and we reflect upon it. So, but then always remember the Buddha's practice on the middle way or middle path, or like today we use the term self-compassion. It has similarities between that. Okay, the middle path, self-compassion. You know, as the years, the time goes by, the terms that we use it might change a little bit, but the core teachings are the same. Okay, the core teachings are always the same.
What I realized is emotional deregulation, at least for me, like when say I go extreme and maybe I'm not a HP CEO, of course, but if I lose it somehow, it's usually because I'm not balanced in some way. Like, and it's almost like my own body or emotional way of saying, get out of this. I will snap now. Kind of like not you know, not wanting to do it, but it's almost a way of like a breaker, a circuit breaker in the panel. So I'm just kind of because it's like that balance. It's like if I feel out of balance somehow, and I don't realize it, and I'm out of balance, somewhere that emotional deregulation will snap, and the circuit breaker kicks in, and I am a Hewlett Packard CEO.
The breaker will pop.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how to maintain the electricity without breaking the breaker.
Yeah, is this when you mention about snap? It also reminds me of the parable that the Buddha gave about the string instruments. If it's too loose, it won't give out sound. If it's too tight, you might just break the string. Okay, so again, how tight, how loose, it's not for us to ask others or share with others. It is for us to know for ourselves, because we are all so special and different. Then our needs are different, our way of life is different, our practices are different. There's so many distinction between ourselves and others. So this is a very good reflective question that we can ask ourselves from time to time. Yeah. Yes,
yes. I would say that it was reminding me a little bit about this knowing yourself, and then also being able to control yourself, having like that self-mastery. But there's this yoga master, or there was, named P.S. Iyengar, and one of the exercises that they make you do is your toe, not your big toe, but your second toe. You have to try to concentrate on the toe and try to move it. Like voluntarily, like control the movement of your second toe. And it's so difficult. It takes like years of practice to actually be able to control. And the idea, the metaphor is that you can't even control your second toe, how are you going to control your mind?
Yeah.
It's very humbling.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to share with those online, because I don't have a separate laptop. But Saba was sharing like one of the yoga teacher that share about like using our toes. You try to move your second toe. I haven't tried that. I will try that. Okay. So it will be almost impossible for us to move our second toe, just like moving like side by side, very slowly. That also reminds us of non-self, because there are many things that we cannot control, but we try to manage it in some ways. That also reminds us of the teachings on non-self. Okay, yeah. So that is interesting.
You're not supposed to have the other toes when I move it?
Yeah, no, you're just supposed to control just that. Because it's like about controlling your body, right?
Yeah. Because the yoga practice has many different practices in being more aware of the physical body and know our limits when we do the stretches. But we don't want to break ourselves. We just need to know how far we can go, and we can always do modification and adjustments. But at the same time, being aware of the breathing, motions, everything are integrated with the mindful practice. Okay, give it a try. Okay. Yeah, so because of the time, announcements, next week, next Saturday will be our last class. We are going to look at the article on keys to living well, which is the title of the book. Okay, right. We're going to learn and discuss about what Verbal Master has to say. So for those of you in San Diego, on December 4th, Monday, 6:30, we have invited Verbal Guang from Dallas. She's going to fly in and have a lecture at the San Diego Central Library. Okay, so for those of you who are not here, the library will do the recording and put on YouTube when it is over. Yeah, so and for those of you here, we are going to have a blood drive on December 7th. It's a Thursday. We welcome and hopefully that you can come and support this blood drive. There's a real need when it comes to blood always. Okay, so now let us conclude our class by doing dedication merit. Let us join our palms. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May Chan, Pure Land, and precepts inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So I will see everyone next Saturday. Thank you, and please be safe. Bye-bye.